Hey everyone, welcome to the Obvious Podcast. This is episode number 77. My name is Sonny. I'm the CEO at ABC Florida East Coast.
And I'm Peter Daiga, President and CEO at ABC Florida East Coast.
You are listening to the Obvious Podcast, where all opinions are our own, unless we say otherwise, or there's a guest on the show and he says, hey, in my opinion, blah, blah, blah. Then you know it's their opinion.
Love the show. We ask you to subscribe on any major podcast platform or watch us in action on YouTube. Follow the Obvious Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, X, and True Social. All the links you need are in the show notes, and reach out to us anytime at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. And if you're enjoying the ride, we ask you to help others find us by leaving a review wherever you listen. So, all right, Sonny, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Peter, can you believe that March is almost here?
No, I can't.
2026.
Say this every year. As you get older, it gets worse.
It gets worse, yeah. So if you're young and you're like, man, life is so slow, enjoy it because it's going to change quickly.
Exactly. So what are we talking about today?
So today I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
Can you name an area where God's beauty is abundant and the impact of man's terrible policies is also abundant?
Oh, it's hard for me to admit it, but yes, California is a beautiful state.
Right?
Can be a beautiful state.
Gorgeous.
And humans have wrecked it.
So the reason I'm asking you about California, because you and I just came back from one of, I think, the most beautiful parts of California, which is the city of San Diego, which according to Will Ferrell in the movie Anchorman, is a German for a whale's vagina. Do you remember that scene?
No.
She goes, and he's sitting with
San Diego?
Like, yeah.
Okay.
And he goes, San Diego. It's German for whale's vagina. And the girl that he's sitting with says, actually, no, it's Spanish name for Saint Diego. And he goes, well, let's agree to disagree. One of my favorite, stupidest movies ever.
A much underutilized line. Let's agree to disagree.
Let's agree to disagree.
So, well, okay. So
anyway, that's my San Diego
movie references. So aside from that, what
Anchorman, I'm sorry. Anchorman is not an obscure movie reference.
Okay, well, they're all obscure to me. Had that conversation. Movies are entertainment to me. It's like I leave the movie theater and 5 minutes later, it's like dump. You know. Anyway,
I would highly suggest you watch it. It's very.
I've seen it. I'm pretty sure I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it is funny. Anything that makes fun of the news, it kind of does, right?
It does, absolutely. Then I remember he comes home and his dog's barking at him. He's like, I don't speak Spanish.
Lord.
Anyway, we just came back from San Diego, and I would love to share with our audience why we were there and what we did.
Okay, so go ahead, share it. No. Hold it first.
Here we go. You're not going to explain that, are you?
I'm not.
Okay.
So people have to figure it out. So we just came back from, actually, it's something that I've been seeing for a number of years, Sonny, and you being here has kind of got me like, Sonny, I've been looking at this for a number of years and never actually done it. So, what do you think? And so, gave me some new inspiration and to consider it. So I think we've mentioned before, there's an association for everything in this world, which is crazy. So there's an association for associations or association executives. It's called the American Society of Association Executives. They're the accrediting body for the CAE, accreditation. And
what does that stand for?
Certified Association Executive.
Okay.
And they do an awful lot of great publishing over the years, which, this kind of thing I've enjoyed, reading about associations and good governance and benchmarking and all that stuff. So,
this is why you don't watch movies, because you're busy reading these things.
Maybe, in part. So,
Friday nights.
They might be the organization that would sell that book that you and I have talked about that we're going to sell.
Yep.
So, but anyway, they also do some great conferences and symposiums and whatnot. And they've had for a number of years a symposium called the CEO and Chairman. I think they just call it the CEO Symposium. But it's really about getting your leadership on your volunteer board, in particular your chair and or people who are in that path, that glide path for chairmanship, along with the chief staff officers, if you will, of the organization. So yeah, we pulled the trigger. I think we asked, I don't know when it was last summer or when it was, but And we originally were going to have both the institute incoming leader and the chapter. We had to pivot a little bit on that. So, but we did end up going out there with yourself, me, and Rudy.
I cannot say his last name ever.
Yeah, Elena.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to.
Elena, Rudy, Elena. Who's the incoming chair or chair-elect of the ABC Institute. So he'll be the chairman for the 26th.
And the chairman and CEO of D&B Tile.
That's right. So, Yep. And we've actually, he's had us as a guest on one of their big.
That's right.
Right.
When we, the first time we took our show on the road, it was in Orlando.
So in any event, they do, a number of these around the country at different times of the year in different places. So, we picked San Diego. Not because it's San Diego, honestly. We thought the time of the year was...
The time, yeah.
Was good.
It was beautiful.
So anyway.
Right? The weather was nice. Yeah. And, of course, we got cloudy and rainy one day.
Never rained in Southern California, but it did on us.
It did when we showed up. So there was about 100 people there, 100 and, from all different... there was a group sitting at our table that was a bunch of therapists or...
Yep, they were from the... Cognitive and something therapy association or whatever.
ABCT is what they call themselves.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, Association of Behavioral
and Cognitive Therapy.
Something.
ABCT.
And then the table next to us was the Booze Makers of America.
Yeah, the American Distillers Association or something. Anyway,
so it's an interesting group of people.
So anybody interested in good governance and whatnot. So
yeah.
Any event, it was spectacular. The actual facility was awesome. It kind of was Hotel California-esque to me. It was probably built, I'm guessing, in the 60s, but it was very well maintained, very cool. The gardens were beautiful. Yeah. Little wells and fountains and things everywhere. So anyway, it was a great experience.
But let's, before we get into that, why are we even talking about this?
I don't know. Why are we talking about this?
One, I think to give you an insight into sort of how we do things at ABC, but really to talk about leadership. Because this is really about leadership and how do you get two leaders, one who's employed by the association and one who's a volunteer leader, how do you get them to work together? And then the whole idea of this foundational piece that they talked about, which I think is true of sort of any leadership in any context or any environment, when you're talking about strong personalities and how do you get them to sort of congeal together so that they pursue a common goal and a common mission, which really is the whole purpose of associations, right? A bunch of people coming together.
That's right.
And pursuing common goals and common missions.
And what about that relationship and the governance structure of the organization is going to make it most effective?
Exactly. So really, this is, we're joking around talking about our San Diego experience, but this is really an episode about the importance of leadership and the idea of how do you congeal around a common goal and a common mission.
Yep. There were some people there. I forget. He'd been going for like 28 years with his leadership. So.
Oh, the guy from the dental colleges from Canada.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, there were some people there from Canada.
Yep. So it was an international group. We could say that.
It was. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Food was good. So I keep reflecting on the experience rather than we'll get into that more in a minute here. So I told you the story? I think I took pictures of, I was enjoying first off, when you come from the East Coast, right, you're up at 4 a.m. It's like, oh, good Lord.
Yeah. When you get to be our age, you're affected by that time difference.
Well, I sure am. I don't know what it has to do with age or what it has to do with. So, but anyway, so I'd get up early and, the first thing I want to do is open the slider on I usually, my preference is for a ground floor unit. They give me a nice ground floor unit.
Also easy to escape if there's a fire.
Well, that's true.
Right.
I was thinking of earthquakes too, when in California. So
that happened to me in where was I? Tucson. Now that Tucson's in the news, I spent the first week of January in Tucson.
Yeah.
I was on the 7th floor. We had a fire alarm at 3 a.m.
What?
Yep. 7th floor.
That was like on the campus of what Arizona State?
Well, Arizona. What was known?
Is that because the students are pulling the fire alarm or what?
It was a Marriott. It was a Marriott property.
Oh. My God.
And had to climb up 7th floors like when you're groggy because the elevators didn't work. So either you wait in the lobby for the elevator.
Climb down?
We had to
get out of the building?
We had to walk down, which is easy. Walking down 7 flights is no problem. But going back up, when you're like half asleep was not fun.
So anyway, I'd get up at 4. I get up at 4 and, it's cool in the morning out there. It was actually pretty warm. It was like 80s during the day. So one of the rare occasions, I think, when South Florida was actually cooler
than San Diego.
Southern California. So when I'd open the door every morning to get some fresh air, fresh, cool morning air into my room, and it's still pretty dark outside. And I think I told you this story. I showed you pictures. I started to hear this like sound out there, and I'm like, "What the?" Scared to, it's going to show what kind of a wuss I am, I guess. So I go to the patio, which is again on the ground floor, and there's an irrigation system that runs every morning, and water kind of like pools in the patio. So,
yeah.
So I turn the corner to look what the hell's going on, and there's this raccoon and I were like staring at each other face to face, like, you're not supposed to be here, and this poor little raccoon is just trying to find in dry Southern California a little water every morning. He's lapping up this water, and let me tell you, a raccoon lapping up water makes a pretty weird,
does it?
Strong sound,
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my.
That's the difference between you and I, because I never open my screen door. Doesn't care. I don't care if it's night or day. I'm not taking any chances with weird animals like plowing into my room.
So Sonny, I would say like having seen this and looked at it for years and thought about going and inviting our leadership to go. It was well worth it.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. I'm curious. You're a little newer in this business than I am, and I know Rudy seemed to get a lot out of it and found great value in it. I see us, maybe again trying to continue to do this.
Yeah.
I think there's the real dysfunctional organizations I've seen over the years, nonprofits, chambers, ABCs. It boils down to that relationship, I think, between your leadership and you as the CEO or COO has to do with trust.
Yeah.
There was an awful lot. I think there was a lot of time talking about trust.
Yep. Big part of the conversation.
So, anyway, what were your thoughts?
So, what I find really useful and great about this whole experience is when people join organizations for all sorts of reasons, right? Everybody has motivations that are as varied as can be under the sun. And then when they get into the leadership path of whatever association or organization they're a part of, they get into the leadership path for all sorts of reasons and motivations. And so when you are, especially in leadership, right? And I get sort of when you join an organization, everybody has a different value proposition. So you sort of extract whatever value you want to extract based on what you think you need. Now you are shortchanging yourself because the value proposition horizon in most organizations is extremely varied, and there's all sorts of value props lying all around the sphere that you don't know about because you're only focused on the thing that you think you need. So I would encourage you, whenever you join an organization, to sort of be more open to all of the areas where you could derive value from, right? Don't be so myopic in your sense of, I just care about events, or I just care about education, or I just care about this part of that, or advocacy. There's all sorts of avenues for value that you might not even be aware of. So that's, I think, doubly true when you get into leadership, right? So as a volunteer leader, your motivation could be one thing, but all of the little sort of nuggets of value that you could get out of it, whether it's personal, professional, for your business, none of that is really going to be manifested to you until you really sort of open yourself up to the experience and you look at things from a open perspective, right? So, but then I think what that does is you bring to your leadership those values and opinions and perspectives. I mean, that's natural. Like, this is not a bad thing. This is what we all do. And I think probably the greatest benefit that I saw in what this symposium was really about was it really crystallizes around what really the partnership between the two leaders ought to be, and what should be the basic foundational understanding of those two leaders. And I think a lot of I think a lot of volunteer leaders in general think the value lies in what they bring from their own experience, which to a certain degree it does. But the effectiveness can really be hampered if you don't get past that. So I really appreciate the fact that there is a groundwork that's just laid down of best practices and policies and ideas and really more sort of a philosophical underpinning of what matters and what areas where you can agree, areas where you can disagree, areas where you can sort of, agree to disagree, that sort of thing. And I think the guys who did the teaching, I think one of the guys was just incredible. I mean, the man just kind of sat there, older gentleman, and
had the outline obviously, but man, he just never looked at notes.
Never looked at anything.
It was spectacular.
And then one of the guys was just like full of platitudes, and I was like, okay. But he was also good, but just a lot of platitudes. And you know how I feel about those. You're planting trees, you'll never sit under or something, And I'm like, oh, come on, bro. Like, let's just, I don't know. But that's just, I don't like things that are overly emotional anyway. I feel like we should just stick to the facts,
Right.
But
he really spoke to me, so. I've been around 26 years, so he's sitting there talking about how, have you ever had anybody, take credit for, and he's talking more to the volunteer leadership, I think, of, everybody has some great ideas, but everybody's also, to use a overused phrase, standing on the shoulder of giants, right? Because there's, and you think about our experience.
Yeah, I mean, we're a 58-year-old organization, right? And you're the third CEO this organization's ever had.
And then an awful lot of amazing, creative, risk-taking decisions made in the past, before either one of us.
Right.
That have reaped amazing benefits, and hopefully we're just doing more of the same,
Absolutely.
And building on that legacy. So, but yeah, I mean, it's...
but honestly, Peter, when you're like long retired and you're sitting in Costa Rica, you're not going to be sitting there thinking, well, I hope they're giving me credit for all the great things I did.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us are like, I planted those trees and they're enjoying the shade. Yeah. I mean, you just kind of, you do the best you can with the life you're given, and you just...
Absolutely. Sure.
You move on.
Sure.
I mean, the guy was like getting like, and then of course, when he told that story, I hope he never watches the show, by the way. But when he told the story about how he got some woman's name wrong and then he cried about it, like, I was like, what? Bro.
Well,
like, apologize and just move on.
He was like he was like the new president of the organization, and he got one of his staffers' names wrong. So.
Anyway. I'm glad we're not using real names in this episode.
So anyway.
So what was we're running out of time already. So what was your one sort of takeaway?
Oh, geez. My one sort of takeaway. And at different times in my life and career, maybe my big takeaway would have been different. But
by the way, that is the most fascinating part about sort of takeaways, because it is so dependent on like the position you're in. But I mean, it's an obvious statement, but it's very true.
Right.
One to remind ourselves.
Yep. So I would put in that category, I think, the times, and it was, not just a one and done proposition, but when we focused on how important trust is.
Yeah.
I think because, the nature of our two roles is different. Mm-hmm. In order to be successful, you need to respect those roles, I think. And that's always a challenge. We've probably talked about this many times on this podcast, but it's always a challenge because our leaders tend to be people who are problem solvers,
right.
And they play 8 to 5 or whatever, every day of the week, a different role than they're asked to play as a volunteer leader on the board of directors. So, but in any event, I think, the times, when you need to be a little more careful, and looking back at examples of other relationships similar to ABCs or other nonprofits or chambers where it becomes very dysfunctional and problematic, probably boils down to trust. A lot of times, so in any event, how do you build that? I mean, that's because it's not something that you just automatically have with every volunteer leader that comes along, and with you, but hopefully it's a combination of the relationship that's built over the years,
Well,
so.
I had a very interesting trust conversation my first week of my MBA program. Mm-hmm. And our entire program is based on group work. So within the first week, they create these teams.
Did you do any fun trust exercises?
No.
Oh, good. For the quality of education.
We didn't.
You didn't do any silly trust games.
No, nobody's like falling backwards. But and I don't even remember if it was a staff person or a professor talking about this. But they basically said, look, we've done a lot of they made us do personality tests, and then they picked the groups based on that. So they said we've done a lot of research.
Yeah, we did a little bit of that during this, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
And the people at our table were scoffing at the Myers. They were part of the American Behavioral Cognitive Therapists Association, and they were like, oh. Yeah.
And anyway, I'm not even going to that's a different episode. But one of the things that always stuck with me was listen, if you want to have a successful group at Kellogg while you're getting your MBA, you have to start with all of your team being in a place of trust.
Okay.
Don't make them earn it, right? You start with trust. And that's also true and I remember the person saying it's also true if you're professional.
This vision of a jar full of marbles is coming to mind.
Right. The marble. That was I thought that was a great analogy.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of groups that I remember during my sort of MBA journey that did that were phenomenally successful. Yeah. And sort of the outliers who ignored that advice and wanted people to earn their trust really struggled.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And I feel like that's a lesson that I think I really would love for all volunteer leaders to understand that. Don't make people earn your trust on the front end. Give it to them, and then let's see how they do.
So I don't know. I think we'll probably be doing this regularly. In fact, I think there's probably different probably leaders in organizations that don't have to be the chairman of the board.
Who could really benefit from this?
They could be committee leaders. They could be
absolutely.
Just anybody who's interested in a satisfying and productive tenure. Serving on a nonprofit in whatever capacity that may be. So in any event, I would encourage them. We don't want to come across too much as a commercial for ASAE and their CEO symposium, but I was impressed.
It was,
only regret is that, for in years past, I didn't think to,
That's all right.
Coalesce our leadership team around going out to it. So, but anyway, it was well worth the effort, I think. So,
well, thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode and got, learned some things about leadership and trust. And we look forward to welcoming you next Friday.
And for comments, we ask you to send us an email at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. Until next time, ciao.
Take care.